Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Hello.
Welcome to our talk about Industry 4.0 in fashion. We are YOKAI Studios, a young tech startup from Austria, also a very tiny country. We heard it before. We are deeply rooted in research and the use of new technologies in order to design, create, show, and produce garments. My name is Michael. I'm 27 years old. I'm a former mechanical engineer, studied design, and worked as a designer in the fashion industry.
My name is Victor. I'm the other co-founder of YOKAI Studios. I am an artist and I have a background in electric engineering. We both have a good background when it comes to technology, and this is one of the main things why we are working together on our fashion vision. This is all about Industry 4.0, which brings us actually to the first question that we have here. What is Industry 4.0? So I know that many of you already know more than me or myself about Industry 4.0, but just to have a short overview, let's say it's about connecting systems and making sure that different systems are able to talk to each other, and things come up in your mind with like big data or smart internet, which is all deep rooted in the Industry 4.0. So also in our daily life, cars which can drive alone are already getting implied a lot. And when it comes to fashion, which we are talking about now, there are systems that we can use for creating designs more efficient in the future. And there we are especially going to talk about simulation of virtual garments and about additive manufacturing, because these two things are that where we work on the most. So let's have a look how it impacts the fashion industry now.
Yeah, I'm going to describe you the impact of simulation software in fashion industry. We see this animated chart, and I'm going to use the laser. You see on the left side, this is the state-of-the-art process of sampling a garment in the fashion industry. And on the right side, you see the more linear movement. That's the way of doing it with simulation software. So I'm describing the state-of-the-art process to you. As I worked as a designer on my own, I know it very well. So designers get the source materials from the company, and then they start designing. They are doing technical drawings, pattern makers do the patterns, and the developers do the tech specs, which they then send to the production sites in Far East. And these guys, they are trying to use all this gathered information to do a first real sample. They then box it and send it all the way back to the company, and they then review the sample. Most of the times, it isn't very accurate the first time. So they have to repeat this process up to 6 times, and they have an average sample lead time of 37 days from design to final product. That's over a month. It takes a lot of time, and with the use of simulation software, they're going to speed up the process to 27 hours. That's because designers, developers, and pattern makers in-house at the garment, in the fashion label, they sit together, design, sample in a 3D software, and when they are satisfied with the outcome, they just send one final tech back to the production site in Far East and then get just one sample back. And you see the sample adoption rate in the state-of-the-art process is 15% per sample, while you have a sample adoption rate of 55% with simulation software.
So let's sum the benefits up shortly. First of all, it's much more sustainable than the way it was used to be done before, because we don't need to have all the samples and we don't have to send these pieces around the world like many, many times. Then it also allows the fashion brands and also the small designers which are working with this 3D technology to react smaller to trends, because the times are so much shorter than they are used to be. It's also great to have only one final example, like Michael explained, because it sums it up much, much faster, but it also has another very important aspect. it brings us to the point that we can use these animations and the looks that are created of this virtual garment for showcasing them and for being able to advertise the fashion designs, even they have not already been produced, they can be promoted already with these virtual garments. So we are going to look now at some examples where this virtual prototyping is already used quite frequently. The first example, Michael will talk about.
Yeah, what you see here is a shoe that's actually a rendering done by a Munich-based design studio, Ike Sponsor for Nike. As many of you may know, renderings are used quite frequently already in furniture or architectural user case. But through the increase of computational power, it's possible nowadays to simulate garment properties, fabric properties. So the real physical behavior of the garment is we are able to simulate with this software. And as you can see on this picture, the outcome of the fabric is really nice, even though that it's not a real picture, it's a rendering. The next example I'm going to show you is the first only digital dress that sold at an auction for breathtaking $9,500 this year. It's done by Dutch fashion label The Fabricant. It's the first only digital fashion label in the world. Their credo is only digital, never physical. So and that brings me directly to my third example, which is online retailer Carlings. They picked the idea of The Fabricant and brought it to the masses. They are offering a virtual collection on their website, which you can purchase. And what you're doing there is you're uploading a picture. The 3D designers at Carlings are dressing your picture in the desired pose you took, and they send the picture back to you, and you can use it for Instagram or send it to a friend.
Yeah. So to see this with the simulation software, we have a small comparison now in the background where we did a simulation of a piece of clothes, garment that we were creating, and we compared it to a real picture. And as you see, and I'd like you to have a special look at the foldings on the arms or at the trousers. It's like you see, it's really close to the movement on the left side from the real picture, and this is very, very interesting for the design process itself because it allows us not only to create a picture which can be sold or sent it to friends like in Carlings, it also allows us to create animations where we can see how these clothes are going to behave when these dresses are worn. So you know, as a designer, you normally wouldn't have the opportunity to see how the garment will be moving in the end, and you could not react on the purpose that it's made for. So if you would do something like sportswear, you could look how this garment is behaving when somebody is running, and you could make design choices so that it's optimized for the purpose this garment is being meant. So to show you this now, we're going to show you a short animation of a company called Atakak in Sweden, where animation video was done with this technology where we took part in. Just
enjoy the clip.
Yeah.
unfortunately, I'm not able to dance in real life. Okay, we introduced you to the highly developed front end in order to design and show garments, but we at YOKAI, what we are actually focused in and what our research is focused in, we are trying to find the interface of all this gathered 3D data and implement it into production. Of course, we are also using this simulation software to design, to prototype, and to show our garments, but we are really trying to find the interface to use this data for production. So for this, we are using industrial robots, so-called 6-axis industrial robots. You may ask yourself now why these guys are using an industrial robot. Probably it's easier to use a CNC machine, but we want to be able to have like this 6 axis of freedom to be able one day to produce a garment in the 3D space. I'm going to show you now a clip where I will talk over a bit and describe the steps that are happening. The clip shows the production of a shirt we did for an event that happened in December 2018. We dressed the speaker of the event, Forum Creative Industries, and I'm going to lead you through the video. Yeah, first of all, of course, as a designer, you need to have an idea in your head. That's the creative human part of the process. You sketch, you gather materials you want to use. Then we took a scan of our participant in order to get all the textures for the showcase purpose later. We did a body scan to get the exact measurements of the body. And then we used 3D modeling software to extract pattern pieces out of the body. Used the flattening algorithm later to bring it back to the 2D in order to produce it with our robot. Here you can see now the robot connecting the pattern pieces together. It's a 3D print technology we modified. And the finishing we are still doing by hand to give it like the last human touch. Next, you're going to see the first fitting of the garment we did. As you can see, it really fits the body nicely, of course, because we took the exact measurements out of a 3D scan in order to produce that garment. Yeah, and because we used the 3D scan of the body, we've been able to use the same 3D data to produce a short animation clip as well to advertise the event. So what you're going to see next is the short advertisement for the event, where our participant did an epic backflip, also something he's not able to do in real life. As you can see now, he was really satisfied with us doing him a backflip, actually. Yeah, that was our process. This is how the garment looked like at the night event. So spot the best dressed man on the picture. Yeah.
Yeah. And here, now we are talking about the seams. As we mentioned, we are trying to work on the three-dimensional space. So we are developing a method how to apply seams in the 3D space. Here you see the robot moving on this mannequin and making a seam on a 3D puppet. And for us, it's not only a way how to connect to garments, it's for us also a very important design element to have this seams. So as you see up front in the ahead of the graphic, you see some visualizations of things we are working on, and this was one of the first trials where we did the 3D seams. And it's very, very interesting for us because every time when the manufacturing of clothes had a new step or a new technique how to make clothes, it was always something which were able to be brought into the design speech. So therefore we are thinking about using it a lot for a design speech which might develop in a future where we can use these technologies. We are not only able to apply a seam on garments. With our method, we are also having a print installation where we can use a robot to apply prints like this on a t-shirt on garments. For that, we're going to show you a short video now for 1 minute. For those of you who would like to see the robot doing this live, you got the option here at the E3 Festival, because down at the plaza we have our robot printing installation where we are going to print on T-shirts live. So everybody is invited to drop by. We will be here until 9 and print ITRA related textiles, graphics on T-shirts. So thank you first of all for listening. We are very happy that we are able to present our ideas here. And
thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Michael and Victor, for this great. Please, for this great presentation. It's happened with a really revolutionizing how we are designing these days. And I was thinking with Lama if we can do a backflip design for a very controlled abaya. That would be a very interesting proposal for you for next time.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, let's open the floor for the attendee if they have any questions. For Michael and Victor. And also, to remind them, they're still here till 9. They're having a workshop to print T-shirts with Ethra logo. Any question? We have it here back.
Grüß euch. Willkommen in Saudi-Arabien.
Hi.
Hello.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, a little bit. So I see a lot of potential when it comes to shopping. So instead of trying clothes on, actually having these simulations, is that some application that you're also looking into? And also, kind of a side question is this market for one, in terms of customization and offering that option to companies that would fabricate, very exclusively for somebody who's body scanned. Thank you.
Actually, that's our main approach. We try to focus mainly on customization. We are not looking into another way of mass production. So we try to focus on developing a method that's really focused in enabling local small or mid-sized labels to produce their garments again, and also in individualization and customization.
Which is also a quite important aspect when it comes to this, because we are aiming for an on-demand production, not an upfront production of masses before, because a lot of CO2 is put out in the manufacturing of clothes. I think it's like 10% of the global CO2 output every year is just in this fashion fabrication, how we do it this way. And this is actually something where we should find ways to get smaller impacts for our future altogether. And that's the reason why we're trying to develop systems which are working on demand. So I can have like a high quality garment with individual measurements produced when I really need it, and in the best case also with materials that are local sourceable. And we are developing these methods now in Europe and connect a lot to the other states, and are also part of a European project where we are developing the best way of creating the seams now for the next 9 months. There will be infos about this coming up soon, but we think that's the way where it should develop the fashion. Hopefully we were able to answer your question, and it's really nice that you are able to speak German that unbelievably well. Thank you.
We still have room for another question, if someone has. We have it here, but yes.
Hi, I was just curious about the simulations that run. Are you able to have your clients say, well, I want it to be springy, or I want this one to be stiff, and can you mix this one with silk, and I want this piece to be cotton? And is that all possible with the simulations?
Yeah, actually the very impressive thing on this simulation and why it's really that accurate is that every material that you're using there has its own properties. So you can really simulate silk, how it's moving. You can simulate cotton, how it's moving, leather or whatever you are using in this method. So you can also have a garment or material which you produced yourself, and there's a system where you can measure out all the properties that you need so that you can have a real representation, not only on the colors and the texture, so also about the physical movement of these systems. That's a very, very important step to do this, and the simulations can be super accurate. The more detail you go into, sure, the longer it takes, the higher the resolution is in the end. But there are really, really impressive outcomes coming, and there are many things like stores, like let's say Zalando or whatever, they're having like a representation of the clothes when you shop it on the internet, which are not really real clothes that they photographed, they are already rendering. So it's going to be like this. So it's really realistic when it comes to this. And maybe also animation in this. Yeah.
And it's very special how you adapt the technology from the very beginning when we're doing the measurements till the very end. And that was very great talk to tell us more about how the revolution happening in the fashion industry. We'd like to thank you again of being here. And
Thank you very much.
they're having a workshop. Don't forget that.
Yeah.
Thank you again.
Thank you very much. We're impressed with you. Thank you.